The most common questions I get are always related to what gear I'm using. And that's fine, I know equipment is very expensive and we all want to make sure we buy the right thing. However, the gear is just half the battle. It's knowing how to use what gear you have that will make your footage look great. In this video, I'm going to briefly walk you through what I use in terms of cameras, stabilizers, lenses, microphones, ND filters, lighting, and every other little gadget I bring with me to make my weddings as carefree and beautiful as possible. I will not walk you through every single piece of equipment I own because it would take forever and it's pointless. This video is solely dedicated to what I bring to each and every wedding. Links to all of my equipment and everything I'm about to talk about are in the description below, or you can just check out kit.co/Jake Weisler. So what camera do I use? I currently use the 1DX Mark III as my A cam. I love Canon for their autofocus, their colors, and their ease of use. For my B cam, I have my old 1DX Mark II, and for my C cam, I have my Canon EOS R, which I love. For me, I need a camera that can do 4K at 60 frames per second. My 1DXs can do that. My EOS R can do 4K at 30 frames per second, so I only use it for ceremonies or when I'm shooting travel videos for FTF when I need 1080p at 60 frames per second. As for my 1DXs, I love them. Amazing cameras, they produce a stunning image, and I love how easy they are to use. The 1DX Mark III has better features than the Mark II, and you can check out our YouTube channel for a full comparison. Lenses. My most used lens is my Canon 50mm 1.2, my Canon 35mm, and my Canon 85mm. Those three lenses are my absolute favorite. The 50 is stunning for portraits, as is the 85, and the 35 is just that incredible all-around great lens that you can use for wide enough shots, but also medium shots. Love those lenses. As for wide-angle lenses, I have the Sigma 14mm, the Sigma 20mm, and the Sigma 24mm. My favorite out of all three of those is probably the 24mm. It has less distortion than the other two, and I love the style it produces. Highly recommend. And as you've probably noticed, I've only been mentioning prime lenses so far. Zoom lenses are great, but give us wedding videographers a few problems. One being we have to rebalance our stabilizer every time we change focal lengths, unless we're on like a monopod or a tripod. And two, they perform less in low light, since most zoom lenses start at a 2.8 aperture. But if I'm shooting on a monopod or I'm just starting out and I'm wanting one amazing all-around lens to get me through the wedding day, I would go with the 24-70mm. Amazing lens, great sharp image, and perfect for weddings. My other zoom lens that I have two of is the Canon 70-200mm. This lens is a must for wedding videographers. I use these at every ceremony and at every single reception. Perfect to zoom in on someone you can't get close to. Highly recommend. Definitely need for the speeches and the ceremony. But as for lenses that I bring to every wedding, it's the 35mm, the 50mm, the 85mm, the 24mm, and the 70-200s. Every time. Stabilizers. I've spent the last year practicing with as many stabilizers as I can, and let me just say that there is no wrong answer here. Every stabilizer I've used is awesome, and I always can think of a time to use it at a wedding. When I first got started, I was always on my glide cam. Love how easy the glide cam is to balance and use. Then I started learning the motorized gimbal world by diving into the Ronin S. The Ronin S is smoother than the glide cam, but also needs to be charged. If a piece breaks, then it's useless, and it's a little harder to rebalance. Still worth the risk because of the great quality it produces. The GlideCam and the Ronin S are my two favorite stabilizers because they allow me to move with my camera and get great parallaxes. Recently, I've been using the monopod more and more, which is super fun to use. It allows me to get more creative with my shot choice and use more lenses quickly because I don't have to rebalance it every time I change a lens. The monopod kind of forces you to nail your composition and make sure that your dominant subject is engaging. Your subject is the movement compared to a GlideCam or Ronin where you can create the movement. Microphones. My Rode VideoMic Pro Plus is my all-time favorite shotgun mic to use for capturing audio. All the audio I capture with this mic, I usually will use as sound design for the final film. Not a good mic to capture the vows, the ceremony, or the reception toast because you're usually too far away, but awesome for ambient sounds. As for lav mics, the Tascam DR10Ls are a must. These things are crisp, they're small, they're easy to use, and super durable. The whites are for the bride or if the officiant is wearing white. As for audio recorders, my favorite is the Zoom H1N, which I can just plug into the DJ's board and receive great audio, which also can be recorded with auto levels. And my other favorite but more expensive recorder is the Zoom F6, which is a 6-channel recorder which can record 32-bit floating audio. Essentially, it can recover audio that is peaking. Amazing. Lights are one of the first things you should invest in for weddings. My main lights are the Core SWX Torch LED lights. These things can be an on-camera light or set up on a light stand. They're bright, they're dimmable, and they're bicolored, and their batteries last a great while. I love these lights. I also own the Onyx LED light, which I hold handheld when I'm doing detail shots or if I just need more fill light on my subjects. Camera bags. We'll do a whole video about how to travel, but here are the bags I use and love. My first bag is the Pelican Air 1535. This is my main camera bag where I store my cameras, important lenses, batteries, and SD cards. This case is durable, compact, and can fit perfectly in overhead bins on planes. I also have the Pelican Air 1615, which I use for the rest of my equipment. When traveling with this bag, it must be checked because of how big it is, but inside I store my drone, all my audio equipment, another 7200, my Ronin, my chargers, and my lights and small accessories. And my last bag is my ThinkTake tripod case, aka my sticks bag. This is a long bag that is super padded that I use for all my sticks. My tripods, my tripod heads, my monopod, my light stands, all go in this case. And there's usually enough room to put my clothes and toiletries for when I travel inside there as well. As for backpacks, I use the Wandered PRVKE 31 liter series backpack. I usually pack my EOS R and a couple lenses and my laptop in that thing if I just want a small run and gun setup. Accessories. I have a ton of accessories starting with my ND filters. I love and use the Polar Pro Peter McKinnon series ND filters. As for batteries, I typically carry more than you need to because my worst fear is running out. So I typically carry about 6 to 8 for my 1DXs and about 4 to 5 batteries for my EOS R. I have about 6 batteries for all of my lights, which has never been an issue. As for SD cards and CFast cards, I use CF Express cards for the 1D3, which are SanDisk 512GB cards. I have 2 just in case, and then for the 1DX Mark II, I have CF 2.0 cards, and I have 2 ProGrade 512GB cards for those. As for the EOS R, I use a 256GB ProGrade SD card, and they work great with 4K recording. Always bring a lens cleaner kit just to be safe, and a little screwdriver for your mounting plates. Again, I won't walk you through every tiny piece of equipment I own. You can just check out kit.co/Jake Weisler for everything in my bag. Well, that's it for what I bring to weddings. I hope that helps. This is an accumulation of over 3 years of investments, and I hope in 3 years my gear will be 3 times as good and upgraded even more. You should always be improving, growing, and investing in your business. But that's it for what I use. Now go out there and see what gear you love to use and shoot and practice. And if you have any further questions, please let me know.